Good evening, everybody. It is a great pleasure to be speaking back at Mountain Cloud again. And today I'm going to talk about case 23 in the Mumonkan. Think neither good nor evil. It's a long case, so bear with me for a moment because I'm going to read through the whole case, the commentary and the verse, but then I'll go back through it bit by bit to give some explanation. Before I go any further, though, can I ask, is the sound quality okay? Great. So, case 23. The sixth patriarch, or Zen ancestor, was once pursued by the monk Myo as far as Mount Dayu. The Zen ancestor, seeing Myo coming, laid the robe and bowl on a rock and said, "This robe represents the faith. How can it be competed for by force? I will allow you to take it away." Myo tried to lift it up, but it was as immovable as a mountain. Myo was terrified and trembled with awe. He said, "I came for the Dharma, not the robe. I beg you, lay brother, please reveal it to me." The ancestor said, "Not thinking good or evil, at that very moment, what is the primal face of monk Myo?" In that instant, Myo suddenly attained deep realization, and his whole body was covered with sweat. In tears, he bowed and said, "Besides the secret words and secret meaning you have just revealed to me, is there anything else deeper yet?" The Zen ancestor said, "What I have preached to you is no secret at all. If you reflect on your own true face, the secret will be found within yourself." Myo said, "Though I have been at Obai with the other monks, I have never realized my true self. Now, thanks to your instruction, I know it is like a man who drinks water and knows for himself whether it is cold or warm. Now you, lay brother, are my master." The Zen ancestor said, "If that is the way you feel, let us both have Obey for our master. Be mindful and hold fast to what you have realized." Mumon expresses his appreciation of this by commenting, "It should be said of the sixth patriarch that his actions sprang from urgent circumstances. His kindness is like that of a grandmother who peels a fresh lychee, removes the seed, and puts it in your mouth so that all you have to do is swallow it." In his verse, he says, "It can't be described. It can't be pictured. It can't be sufficiently praised. Stop trying to grasp it with your head. The primal face, there is nowhere to hide it. Even when the world is destroyed, it is indestructible." So, what's going on here? There's a lot of backstory to this koan. Important history for the practice of Zen. The sixth ancestor or patriarch refers to the sixth successor in line from Bodhidharma, so Chinese lineage. His name was Daiken Ino. His father was a government official who died when he was quite young, leaving he and his mother destitute. He helped to care for her by collecting firewood and selling it. One day, he passed a neighbor and heard him chanting part of the Diamond Sutra. Dwelling nowhere, mind comes forth. We actually use this phrase in the miscellaneous collection of koans. But when Ino heard this, dwelling nowhere, mind comes forth, he suddenly attained deep realization and asked the man where he had learned it. The man directed him to Zen Master Konen at Obai, the fifth patriarch. So, after some hesitation, consideration, and finally consultation with his mother, he went to Obai, and he arranged for neighbors to help with his mother. But when he arrived at Obai, he was not welcomed so much into the monastic community. He did not become a monk at that time. He was simply assigned to the rice cleaning shed. Now, sometime after that, Master Konen announced to the community that he could foresee that he would be dying soon and that he needed to appoint a successor. And he asked people to present their understanding to him so that he could decide who would be his successor. Within the community was the head monk named Jinsu, and everybody assumed that he would be the master's successor. But he himself was very nervous about speaking directly to Master Konen. Instead, he wrote a poem and posted it in the hallway. And his poem was, "The body is the Bodhi tree. The mind is like the stand of a clear mirror. Wipe it clean from time to time. Never let dust and rubbish adhere to it." When Master Konen saw that poem, he knew that it was Jinshu's work, and he praised it. But when Ino heard about it, he was not impressed. He came up with his own poem, but he was illiterate. And so he had to ask one of the monks to write it out for him. Ino's poem was, "The Bodhi is intrinsically no tree, nor has the clear mirror any stand. There is not one thing from the beginning. Where can dust and rubbish adhere at all. Perhaps you can tell that these present very different understandings of reality. When the fifth patriarch saw this poem, somehow he knew that Eno had written it, even though it was unsigned. And he knew that it presented a much clearer realization. The head monk's poem is practice advice. Eno's poem is a presentation of the true fact. Nowhere at all for dust to settle. But instead of praising it, he tore it down. Somebody, I guess, preserved it for us. And later that night, he went to the rice cleaning shed to see Eno, and he tested him very thoroughly, confirmed his realization, and made him his successor. But he didn't tell the community. Instead, he gave Eno the robe and bowl that were symbols of his position, and told him that he should hide for 10 years before coming out in public. And then he took him down to the river and rowed him across the river himself so that Eno could run away. Well, the next morning, the monks discovered that the robe and bowl were gone and that Eno was gone, and several of them gave chase. So that's where this koan begins. Monk Myo is one of the monks that gave chase. And he was a former general who had become a monk. Presumably, he was a very robust man. Probably a pretty good runner. And so he pursued the sixth Zen ancestor, for that's what Eno was by then, as far as Mount Dayu. But when Eno saw Monk Myo coming, instead of running away, he took the robe and the bowl and he laid them down on a rock and said, "This robe represents the faith. How can it be competed for by force? I will allow you to take it away." But when Myo tried to lift it up, he couldn't. And this terrified him. Now, you might wonder at this. Why couldn't Monk Myo lift the robe and the bowl? But you need to understand their significance. Supposedly, these two objects originated with the Buddha. They originally belonged to him and were handed down from master to successor through hundreds of years, through centuries, as a symbol of transmission. So if you can imagine, if you were a Catholic, it might be like seeing the Shroud of Turin and the Holy Grail. Would you be able to simply reach out and pick them up? Probably not. In that moment when Monk Myo failed to lift them, I suspect he realized that Eno could not have attained them unless he had been truly authorized with transmission. And it completely changed his perspective. So instead of fighting, he says to Eno, I came for the Dharma, not the robe. I beg you, lay brother, please reveal it to me. He refers to Eno as lay brother, of course, because he's not even a monk at this time. The ancestor replied to him, not thinking good or evil. At that very moment, what is the primal face of Monk Myo? Not thinking good or evil, not having distinctions in your mind of I am or am not a proper successor. At that very moment that you were racing to catch up to me, who were you? What was your primal face? Eno somehow saw in Monk Myo a readiness to break through. And his words are what we call a turning word. They completely broke open Monk Myo's understanding. He suddenly attained deep realization. His whole body was covered with sweat. In tears, he bowed and said, besides the secret words and secret meaning you have just revealed to me, is there anything else deeper? This is really interesting. It reveals a lot about his state of mind. He's just had this incredible breakthrough, and yet it's almost as if he doesn't believe it. Everything has been wiped completely away. How could it be so simple? And so often we don't believe it, even when we see it. It's very similar to the previous case in the Mumonkan, where Ananda comes to Kashyapa and says to him, aside from the brocade robe, and he's referring evidently to the same robe, though probably patched to such an extent that there's not much of the original left. What else, aside from the brocade robe, what else did the Buddha transmit you? What else is there? Myo's really asking the same thing. What else is there? And constantly in our practice, we find ourselves asking that question instead of turning it around and realizing, no, there's even less. It's not more, it's less. And that less is more. Eno, even though he's never even really practiced Zen, he's like some gifted individual who just saw so clearly. And he's able to say, What I have preached to you is no secret at all. If you reflect on your own true face, the secret will be found within yourself. How could it be a secret if it's there? It's in you. What is secret about that? But still, you need to wipe away all of the assumptions, concepts, preconceptions in order to see it clearly. Myo accepts this and says, though I have been at Obai with the other monks, I've never realized what my true self is. Now, thanks to your instruction, I know it is like a man who drinks water and knows for himself whether it's warm or cold. This statement from Monk Myo is a very clear expression of his realization. Now I know. It is like one who drinks water, knows for themselves whether it is cold or warm. This moment of feeling the water on your lips, filling the mouth, swallowing, feeling it slide down your throat. That is the whole teaching. It is like Buddha confirming his own realization by touching the earth. There is no other place to find it. And right in this moment, right here. Monk Myo goes on to say, now you, lay brother, are my master. But Ino does not accept him as a student. Instead, he says, if that's the way you feel, let us both have Obai, the fifth patriarch, for our master. He is accepting Master Conan's advice not to begin teaching right away, but to hide away for 10 years first. But he goes on to say, be mindful and hold fast to what you have realized. Now, sometimes we're told, let go of what you've realized rather than hold fast. And that's really teacher fitting the teaching to the student. Some students need to hear, hold fast, and some students need to hear, let go. I find it astonishing, impressive, I guess is a better word, the degree to which Ino is really able to fit his teaching to this monk, even though he himself has only met with his master essentially that one time in the rice cleaning shed. It's not like he has, years and years of experience in how this practice works or being taught and so on. It just comes naturally to him. And he really seems to see into Monk Myo and know how to help him break through. Mumonkan describes him as acting from urgent circumstances. Here is a monk who is ripe, and the time is now to say the right thing. He describes him as being like a grandmother who peels a fresh lychee, removes the seed, and puts it in your mouth. All you have to do is swallow it. He has laid bare the whole teaching for Monk Mumonkan and for us to see. It can't be described. It can't be pictured. Well, how could you describe the experience of drinking water, really? How can you describe what it really is like to breathe in and breathe out? It can't be sufficiently praised. Stop trying to grasp it with your head. Well, isn't that the thing that we all need to hear over and over and over again, especially in the West? It's one of the most difficult parts of Zen practice, is to stop trying to understand intellectually. The primal face, there is nowhere to hide. You're looking for it everywhere, but it can't be hidden from you. It's like the proverbial story of the person running around looking for their head. Or in the Song of Zazen, it's like someone in the midst of water crying out in thirst. It is right there. I was going to say in front of you, but it's not even in front of you. It's closer than that. But how will you show that you have found it? That's the question. Finally, Mumonkan says, even when the world is destroyed, it's indestructible. We live in a time in history, maybe all times are like this, I don't know, this is the one I live in. There's so much uncertainty. So many of our institutions and even our values feel precarious. So many things that we grew up thinking were self-evident are being questioned. I used to think that evidence that there was fundamental trust in society was the fact that we were willing to drive cars, because you're on a road, you're going fast, you've got this enormous machine, and everybody around you does too, and yet you trust that the other drivers are going to stay in their lanes, they're going to obey the rules. Well, not so much anymore. Some of them will drive right up on the sidewalk and kill people on purpose. So if we can't have even that basic level of trust, how can we have any certainty? And yet, in this practice, we learn to see that which is indestructible, unchanging. And it is such a comfort, such a healing. In our evolution, we have been primed, all of our senses have been primed to notice change. The air is getting cooler. There's a sudden movement in the corner of my eye. Our bright raspberry stands out in green leaves. And even in Buddhism, we have this principle of constant change. It takes a concerted effort to train ourselves to see the unchanging. But that's the root of our practice. We sit still, quiet, so that we can touch, see, recognize that still, quiet, unchanging reality that is indestructible. And it is a huge relief when you finally see this unchangeable world in the midst of all of this change and tumult around us. It is like peering into the depths of a stormy ocean and seeing the still, quiet water below.